Hello everyone, and welcome to a first impression videos for Age of Wonders 4. I'm your host, Colors Fade. So the game just came out this week, and I know a lot of people are excited. They want to know if this is a game that's going to be worth their time and money. Certainly it has Paradox's name on it, and we all know that they're very good at making 4X games. I do not have a lot of personal experience with the Age of Wonders series. I did own Age of Wonders 3, and I did play it some, but not a lot. My love for this particular genre of game goes all the way back to the early 90s with Master of Magic, and I have waited patiently for a great successor to that game ever since. Ironic that earlier in the year, or at the end of last year, I guess you could say, December 2022, we got Master of Magic, the true spiritual successor to the game. And I found it really underwhelming. It was much more like Civilization 5 to me. That's what it looked and played like, than a Fantasy 4X game. It just didn't have that look and feel. But then, pleasantly, I was surprised when Spellforce Conquest of EO came out a few weeks ago, and it is a game that looks and plays like a Fantasy 4X game. It's everything I wanted. It's really wonderful, and I want to get it on the channel. Now, a few weeks later, we get Age of Wonders 4. So how does it compare? Well, it's the same genre of game. It's in the exact same vein. It's got your classic stuff, overworld map. You're going to build cities. You're going to do diplomacy with people. And then it has all of the turn-based combat that we've come to expect from these sorts of games. The difference is Age of Wonders 4 is just a top-tier production. You can see from this footage that the game looks amazing. Everything from the UI to the graphics to the spell effects are just phenomenal. They have done a great job with how this game looks. It looks like a Fantasy 4X game right out of the box from your first moments. That's what it looks and feels like. The sound effects are great. The movement is great. There's no stuttering. It's super smooth. So as one would expect to start the game, there are a number of scenarios that you can play. I've only been able to play a little bit of the starter scenario, the tutorial scenario, but the game is so smooth and so much fun. It's fantastic. There are a bunch of other scenarios. There's a story starter scenario, basically. That's probably the first one that'll go on this channel. As you might expect, there are a number of wizards that you can start the game with, predefined ones, and then there are some that are grayed out, and I can only assume that they become available later when you unlock them by winning certain other scenarios. It probably works a lot like Star Traders Frontiers, the way the Treese brothers have made a lot of things unlock as you achieve certain milestones in the game from playing it. But then there's the thing that I personally love the most. There is the make your own wizard, which I have always loved about these games, just like Stellaris, where you can build your own ruler and your own empire and your own people. You can do that here, and it is phenomenal. The presentation is great. There are far more details for your ruler here than I would have ever guessed in terms of body style and hair and clothing and all that stuff. I would have never anticipated anybody doing something to this level, but it just looks fantastic, doesn't it? I mean, I love this. And then to get into the actual gameplay, it's just exactly what you would expect. So far, moving units, building armies, joining them together, building your kingdom, traveling around into the underworld, enemies. I really like the way a lot of things in this game are done. I love that when you start a battle, you can inspect each one of the enemy units and you can see what you're really up against. I love that there's a meter in the middle that's basically going to tell you whether this is a fight that you're going to get your butt kicked on or not. And where a lot of these particular games fall down for me is with the turn-based combat. Usually it's so simplistic, and that harkens back to the days of the first Master of Magic. It's usually so simplistic that I just can't get engaged with it, and after a while I just auto-resolve all the battles. But here it is really fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. I think that the heroes and your hero spells, your ruler spells, and whatever hero abilities you have and all that stuff, it just makes it interesting. I've actually been manually playing every single battle, and I've been enjoying it. So to me, that's probably one of the greatest endorsements that I can give for the game, is that playing the individual battles is fun. I think that's a big deal. Other than that, the only thing I can really say is I just love the presentation, with all the ways the different menus are done, and with the ways the presentation is done when you meet other rulers and when you interact with them, and some of the game mechanics that are going on. I pretty much like everything right out of the gate. I haven't found anything that's really annoyed me, except for one thing, which is doesn't seem to be a way on the UI for it to tell you automatically that your city can expand. You have to constantly be clicking on it every turn to see, can I expand to a new region around me? I would kind of like some kind of indicator on the screen, and maybe I just haven't found it yet, but I'd like an indicator on the screen that says, hey, this city's ready to upgrade. Also, the default controls for the game on the PC are pretty whack. These games have all started to kind of do their own thing instead of sharing a common set of controls. I've gotten really used to, on a lot of these games, using the same buttons for things like tab to tab through each one of my armies and spacebar to do the next turn. Fortunately, all the controls are fully customizable in there. You can remap all your keyboard configuration, and I highly recommend you do that as soon as you get into the game so you're not confused. Take the stuff that you're going to use the most and map it to the keys that you want to use the most, and make it for a really nice and easy experience. What is really nice is the movement of the camera and the movement around the game. They use the classic ASWD and the QE keys for rotation. Plus you can also turn on mouse edge rotation, which is really nice. So everything about moving around the world in this game is really easy. It's easy to move the camera around, and it's using the same systems that everybody's used to using, which I really, really like. So I also think that's just a huge bonus for the game. I did find the mouse movement, I did find the keyboard movement around the map to be a little touchy at first. Fortunately, you can also adjust that in the settings. So again, like a lot of these games, just go into the settings right off the bat and adjust some of the stuff. But my overall first impression of the game is it is artistically gorgeous. The user interface is done really nicely well. I love the character customization for your wizard, and I just love the way the game looks and feels and sounds so far. And the combat is engaging. I'm not auto-resolving them. So all of that, so far, I'm really happy with the game. I'm definitely going to be putting the first scenario on the channel, and we'll play through it. I'm going to try to have that up on Friday. My first impression of this game is it's a home run. I think it's great. I want to play it a lot more to figure out exactly, but look for more of this on the channel, folks. This and Spellforce Conquest of Io, both fantastic Fantasy 4X games. Keep an eye out. We're going to do more of this. As always, if you dig it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave your questions and comments down below. Consider supporting my Patreon, which is in the description below, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, happy gaming, everyone.